my eye on the Temur list here because I think there's some untapped potential in this deck, and I think its worst enemy, honestly, is its mana.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You are playing some amount of tap lands. You are just trying to make sure that you hit your cards on curve. And if you stumble again, it can be very costly.
So opening up with a Triome. And it looks like you're just going to hold up that Stomp here. That's a judicious play rather than running out the Edgewall Innkeeper and having it die to a Frostbite.
Riley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the second card on the left in Riku's hand, is that a Stern Dismissal? Well, now the first card on the left.
Matey, I'm very glad you've asked me. Over the years, I've accrued a very weird skill. Over the years, as my, nearly a decade now that I've been broadcasting Magic professionally, I have gained the skill to identify a Magic card by the very top left or top right corner of the art.
Okay.
And now, I mean, since then, we've had a couple of quick flashes of what the card is, but yeah.
It is definitely a Stern Dismissal.
It's definitely a Stern Dismissal. And I don't know how I feel about the fact that like a square centimeter of or less than that, half a square centimeter of artwork in the top corner of the card revealed that fact to me. Like, I don't know if I should feel good about that, but that's certainly where I'm at right now.
A moment of reflection here.
Yeah, exactly. A little
as
bit
Riku reflects on his turn.
Let's see what he wants to do. A couple of options, but he's going to go with putting the Epiphany into the Foretell zone here. The slower start here as well for Rolf, who doesn't have a lot of action. No 1-drop, no 2-drop. This is game 3, remember, of course. This is game 3. That's why we're seeing Shredded Sails, Redcap, Malay. Both of these players at 1-1.
Yeah, I believe Riku was on the play this game, which means that John was the one who won the second game, Riku winning the first. So post-sideboard, maybe the red deck getting a bit more of an edge in this matchup than it had initially.
Oh, check it out. Wow, Stern Dismissal. Get this Annex out of here, mate. Get this out of denied. Slap it out of the net.
Yeah, interestingly, it looks like Riku is just playing this game entirely on full control mode.
An interesting approach here. An interesting approach. Certainly not one that I would get behind most of the time. He's a 5/5 now.
Bold strategy.
A bold strategy. A slightly annoying strategy, too.
This game is okay, but Riku really needs a fourth land for this Great Henge, and unbeknownst to him, there's a Shredded Sails waiting to make sure that does not help in any way.
All right, Rolf's going to get frosty here. We're going to see Frostbite and a Stomp there. I've got a question for you, Manny. You know the art on Frostbite represents someone being bitten in the frost, right?
Sure.
Now, do you think there's one of two ways that I explain this card, as we see the Fireblade Charger going down to this Stomp. Do you think that someone in the creative department was like, oh, Frostbite is a card, sure, no worries, I'll commission the art for that, get on the phone to an artist, g'day, mate, listen, we just need someone getting bitten in the snow. I don't know, the card's called Frostbite, I don't really get it, right? Yeah, but just biting and like have some snow in there or something, all right, thanks. Or do you reckon that as soon as they're like, oh, we're bringing back snow, someone's like, we got to do Frostbite, we got to do this visual pun has to happen. Do you think it came from like not knowing what Frostbite was, or do you think it came from just needing to get that pun on a Magic card?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the name Frostbite has been sitting in a folder at WotCRD since Ice Age, like 1995.
Someone tried to force it into Modern Horizons, and they're like, nah, it's not, Maro, it's not happening, dude. We're not putting it in.
It's not right. They've just been waiting for this moment. 20 years in the making has delivered us Frostbite.
Has culminated in a medium visual pun on a Magic card. Pretty sure that's not how you get frostbitten. I'm pretty sure you don't actually. I'm pretty sure it doesn't count if you get bitten in the snow. That's not what frostbite is. But I don't know. I didn't know snow was wet until I was 25. So I can't talk. Red Cap Malay now might go after this.
Brutal for Riku. No fourth land, struggling, and John's draw just lines up so perfectly against everything Riku's doing.
And here Rolf, able to just chuck away a land as well as that Red Cap Malay, just 2-for-1ing himself. And now the fourth land coming too late. There was a time at which it would have been very useful, but now Riku's just playing catch up.
Yeah, now Riku does play that Bone Crusher Giant, but John has the Throne War to steal it if he would like. And Riku's big hope right now is to get to that Goldspan Dragon. But Shredded Sails, like both of the big payoff cards waiting in John's hand, both of the big payoff cards waiting in Riku's hand, are answered by that single copy of Shredded Sails sitting in John's hand.
Tough spot here. Shredded Sails actually a bit of a house, right? Like, kills the dragon, kills the Great Henge.
Yeah, it's a card we've seen floating around in Standard for a while now, since Rogues started becoming popular. It was a card for sideboards that would basically give you an answer to the creatures from the Rogues deck and the powerful artifacts from the Gruul Adventures deck. So it's definitely been seeing play in the last season, since essentially Zendikar Rising popularized the Rogues archetype as well as Gruul Adventures, but certainly looking like a great sideboard card now as Goldspan Dragons are becoming more and more prevalent in the metagame.
Yeah, absolutely. Goldspan Dragon, one of the best threats in Standard at the moment in the hands of that Naya Adventures list. Of course, it can be a very, very lethal threat with the combo finish there. So I like Shredded Sails. Good card. Keep an eye on that one.
I'm also keeping an eye on just how dead Riku is this game, because it's just not getting better for him, you know?
No. Even the loss of that Anax doesn't come to too much of an expense here for Rolf because of the Satyrs there to replace it.
Okay, this is a start. Now Riku is able to play the dragon, will have access to the treasure token if he actually gets an attack, and will be able to, because Riku's still at 19. John does not have that much pressure, just doing a little count. Looks like 12 damage, all things considered, on John's side of the board, and Riku will still have access to a Bone Crusher Giant for that. This game could turn around. Between this Hour's Epiphany, assuming John doesn't go for an all-in aggro attack, this game could turn around.
Across comes the dragon. There's that treasure that does power out the stomp. With the Akroan War here, how much of that is an issue? Akroan War is a very, very potent card against anyone who's looking to play, these massive creatures that dominate the battlefield.
It is definitely an issue. John, Akroan Wars the dragon, gets across for 7 points of damage, and Riku will essentially be left with close to nothing. We'll still be able to cast that Hour's Epiphany, get some chump blockers, take another turn, but overall, there's just not much happening once the Akroan War takes this dragon.
So Rolf now considering his next move, and it's going to be a robber.
Yeah. Looks like opting for the robber Shredded Sails instead puts on more pressure, but does mean that he will be expending the Shredded Sails and not sealing Riku's essentially best stealable creature.
And in they all come here. Kumagai going to take a stack. This is 9 damage here. On 19 though, so a relatively healthy life total. Well, very healthy life total considering the late stage of the game. Rolf drawing a more reactive hand. And just going to take it. Okay. Just going to take it. Doesn't want to stomp the robber or anything else like that. What's the reason behind sandbagging the stomp there?
Honestly, I'm not actually sure. I think in Riku's position, he wants to try to preserve his life total more, but maybe just feels like the treasure is too valuable if John was able to get rid of this bird somehow, or dragon, as it were, I guess. But if you don't use the stomp, while using that treasure right now, you're essentially giving up the extra mana the treasure makes as long as the Goldspan Dragon is in play. And I think given Riku's hand, he needs this extra mana.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to sacrifice at least one of the treasures here. And use that to stomp probably the robber. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, I'm just not sure why he wouldn't do this last turn to save 2 damage. I think it... I don't think he's representing anything in that position for him to want to keep the treasure back. Alrund's Epiphany, likely to cast here. It will allow Riku to get the 2 birds, untap, cast Bonecrusher Giant, and leave up Petty Theft. So certainly that is the route back into this game. If he just goes for the Bonecrusher Giant, I think he'll be in a lot of trouble, especially with that copy of Aggro War in John's hand. So, yeah, I do like this Epiphany coming out first.
Right, yeah, pops a couple of blockers on the battlefield as well here, which isn't too bad. Still a long way from casting that Great Henge. And another Stomp, okay. So can play the 4/3 and keep up either Stomp or, alternatively, the Petty Theft. Soulseer is the draw for Rolf here.
Riku is not that far away from stabilizing now.
No, you sense that it's sort of coming just around the corner, and now's where Rolf really needs to turn the screws, right?
Yeah, this is really going to be up to John whether he's going to activate the Faceless Haven and just start attacking with all, or whether he's thinking more about something like Aggro War, steal the Bonecrusher Giant, and then attack. But that could backfire, because if he goes Aggro War, steal the Giant, and attack, Riku can really punish that with a Petty Theft on the Aggro War, getting his Giant back mid-combat to then block and trade Giants and essentially leave John with just one creature.
Going to be Soulseer. Comes at the cost of 2 life. Going to pay the blood price to cast this Soulseer, but away goes the 4/3. Now here's the attack. Could block with a bird on the Giant and finish it off with the Stomp, and then trade off against the Satyr. Looks like that's going to be the line here. Yep. Seems fine. Take 2, go to 8.
Yeah, you'll be taking another 2 by stomping the Giant, going down to 6. But essentially now your Bonecrusher is going to be king on the battlefield, at least for the time being.
Well, until the Aggro War comes down at any rate, yes.
Ooh.
Okay, well that's a good draw. A 5/5 and an extra blocker as well to go with it. Okay, I can't be too unhappy about that. Is this what he goes for? Here's the Heart's Desire. And the 5/5 to come along with it. Now, Aggro War in hand, of course, for Rolf. The fact that one card generated 2 bodies is pretty important here.
Oh no, another Soulseer.
Another
Clear
Soulseer,
though.
5/5. Ooh, boy.
John continues drawing answers, but Riku, with the 2 bodies there, now essentially is able to trade off that 1/1 for the Satyr if John wanted to go for the Soulseer. Instead, going for the Aggro War here means that Riku has some decent options available to him now.
I don't know if you've noticed on the art for Aggro War, it's a picture of a tapestry, and the tapestry is actually unfinished in the art. It finishes halfway through that 3rd panel there. You can actually see, if you look up the art for it, you can actually see it's a picture of an unfinished tapestry. It's extremely cool.
Huh.
In comes Javier here for 1. Going to knock Riku down to 5 and finds a mammoth off the top here.
So one thing Riku can do here is Petty Theft his own Love-Struck Beast back to his hand, allowing him to essentially get the Heart's Desire effect again next turn while riding out this Aggro War.
Yes, yeah, so as to mitigate the damage from it. Now, normally, obviously, you can't target your own stuff with Petty Theft, but if your opponent has somehow taken control of what you've got, then you can bounce it, of course.
This game is really tight, considering John is mostly out of gas, does still have a single copy of Soulseer. I don't believe his position is comfortable enough to just put Obosh in hand here.
Well, he disagrees.
He does, and I think that may end up working out as punishment for him. Here, Riku can get that beast back in hand, will end up taking one from the attack if John attacks with everything, but again, this curve is just a little awkward, and John has more and more answers.
Yeah, John's been drawing pretty well here. He's going to get Frosty here and maybe take out this 1/1. Still a Soulseer in hand for him as well. Just drawn the perfect amount of lands, right? 3 snow-covered mountains and a single Faceless Haven. No dramas. So it needs to do this before attack to play around Embercleave. Oh, gonna bounce the Crowan War instead.
Huh.
If you do that, then don't you just wait for the attack so you can... Oh, no, I guess it'll be tapped.
Riku is trying to set up playing the Great Henge next turn.
Right.
Off of the Love Struck Beast, and this is the line that allows him to do that without needing to draw a land. But now with the Soulseer expended as well, John will get 2 points of damage in, still with the Crowan War in hand, and this is the problem with this sort of risky line from Riku Kumagai, is now what? You're going to be able to play a creature, but you know your opponent has a Crowan War in hand. If you don't play a creature, you're just going to die to the board. You can't play the Obosh because the Crowan War stealing it will just kill you with the perfect champion.
with the champion, yeah.
I don't love this line from Riku. I don't think his position was comfortable enough to put Obosh in hand last turn, and I don't think you should have tried to go for this. I think you could have just played the Bone Crusher last turn and prevented being in this position.
Bit of fancy play syndrome there from old Riku by the look of things. Unfortunate. He took a bit of a risk, and it has not paid off. The Soulseer from John Rolf making sure of that. And now the 4/3 coming down a little too late to the party. And apart from this, I mean, you can flash in the Brazen Borrower, which hardly does anything. And a Frostbite off the top. Oh, my goodness. As if the Akron weren't enough, mate. As if the Akron
John's graveyard is entirely removal spells.
Yeah.
John has drawn 4 lands and then just stopped and just removal every turn of the game. Certainly no shortage of great draws from John Rolf, but this is just brutal.
Death by 1,000 1/1s here from Rolfie. But does he go for the Frostbite? Does he go from the Akron War? He's taking his time to think about it. John Rolf, by the way, 4-0 today. 4-0. He's redeemed himself very, very well. He was down towards the bottom end of town in the standings at the beginning of today's play, but he's done really well, leapfrogging his way up and up and up. And it looks like that momentum is set to continue here with what looks like an all but assured victory in round number 5 today. So well done, John Rolf.
I think he should be going for the Akron War here. I think you want more sustained pressure. One of the cards in Riku's hand is that Obosh. Doesn't really do anything here. But if Riku's able to gain some life with something like the Great Henge and play a creature, then you may not have lethal attacks this way.
So, gets Frosty, and away goes the 4/3 Giant. An attack for 2.
If Riku draws a 3-drop or less creature here, now the Great Henge costs 6. He'll be able to untap, play Henge.
He finds a Brazen Borrow as well. That can't bounce.
Won't do it.
No, that can't bounce the Faceless Haven critically.
Yeah, that can't bounce the Faceless Haven. It can't block the Faceless Haven. You can't play Obosh here. You know your opponent has a Crowan War in hand. You have to play the Great Henge. I think Riku is just dead.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good. You can play the Great Henge and then you can bounce something, but even then, like, you can't block the Faceless Haven.
I'm not really sure what the plan from Riku was in the last few turns. It really did seem like he was trying to set up a great henge turn, right? But unfortunately, that really relied on everything falling his way, because just getting the great henge into play wasn't going to be good enough. It needed to be get great henge into play and have some sort of follow-up. And giving this Aggro War back to John with that bounce was extremely costly. Now we're seeing turns and turns down the road the cost of knowing that Aggro War is waiting in your opponent's hand to come back at some point and steal one of your blockers. So I think
I've seen the out here. I've seen the out.
We didn't even need to say it.
I actually see how Riku survives this game. Have you seen Space Jam?
I have.
So if the Monstars turned up with that thing where they can like suck someone's talent out of them and then they forget how to play basketball, except they've got one of them, except it's John Rolf making him forget how to play Magic. That's the line. That's the line for Riku Kumagai. He's relying on the Space Jam line here. A stomp off the top is going to seal the deal. Away goes the Satyr here, and Riku Kumagai with a glimmer of hope, thinking, "Oh, maybe I've got it. Maybe I'm going to survive." But 1 damage with the copy of Fervent Champion plus this stomp to the face. We've seen a lot of games ended with a stomp to the face, and here's another one. Game, set, match to John Rolf, excuse me. The Space Jam defense, not enough for him to lose this game to Riku Kumagai. So congratulations to Rolfie.